Slide two brothers meet one another when they slide up to the mic. It's bread and butter with one another. Let's start up that recording light.
Welcome to Bread and Butter, everybody. This is episode 14, and again, we have Pocky as our special guest. Pocky, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing okay. Work was a lot today. Tito, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, actually. Work was fine. We don't need to get into that. Pocky, I caught a little bit of your stream this weekend, and I happened to see you in a panda suit. Would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, that's so it originated back like really early on when I was streaming. I just said it, when you're a small streamer, you're like, what can I do? You're just looking for things to set you apart. You're willing to do whatever because you're just trying to have a good time. You're trying to have everyone else have a good time. And someone said, oh, like, what if you get like a panda outfit or something? And I was like, sure, if we get this much in donations. And then what do you know? Someone actually donated that much, which, you don't expect. You're like, no one's ever going to do that. And all of a sudden it happens. You're like, oh God, what have I gotten myself into? But, yeah, so it just happened, and then from there, I turned it into a channel point redemption on my Twitch channel. So you can, if you watch enough, you can redeem a panda dance, where I get into the outfit and I dance to a song you're choosing. But I also did a charity stream this weekend, and so this weekend it was actually one of the rewards that I had for the donations to the charity, and yeah, I was really happy with that. And, I'm much more happy about doing it that way than just doing it for channel points, right? At least it's going for a good cause. Yeah. So,
Absolutely. What charity were you raising money for?
I was raising money for the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. So,
awesome.
A great organization there. And it was a good stream. We did a lot of different things, but we raised, $820 just in the one day. So I was really, really happy with how it turned out, and, hugely grateful and thankful to my community for always showing up to support good causes.
Now, is that closed from that one day, or do you still have it open? Can our listeners go ahead and still contribute, or?
I think my campaign is closed, okay. But I mean, of course, you can always donate and give to that organization, or of course, any charitable organizations out there. There's so many that are doing great work, and it's always a pleasure for me to try and give back to those who need it.
Yeah, that's one of the best things I think that I found with the streaming community is that we are able to use our platform to raise money for the charities that mean a lot to us. So I love seeing that. But I asked another question. Tell us about the Pocky Creator Program, Content Creator Program.
Yeah, so I mean, you guys, I'm sure, heard about the Hearthstone Creator Program, which there's been a lot of commentary and stuff on it, and I won't dive too much into that, but some people were kind of like a little bit disappointed with what the guidelines were set up for, and I understand that from Blizzard's perspective, it's not easy to just include everyone, which obviously that sounds bad, but from my perspective, it is easy to include everyone. I talk about how I really want my channel to be a very inclusive place to everyone. And I was looking through all the stuff and talking about it on my stream. And someone mentioned when's the Pocky, and I'm like, wait a second. I can do all this stuff, I can communicate, right? I can give merch code giveaways. I can give out merch. I can, I have events that I put up, right, and do stuff. I'm like, wait a second, this is all the same stuff. I can do this. And so then I was like, wait a second, I can create this Pocky Creator Program, have people apply, you know. I also realized I can't just include everyone because turns out it's not cheap.
No.
But, it's like advertising, and it was like a fun little thing. So we had some applications come in. I still need to finish choosing everyone and setting it up. But yeah, I just want to do a little fun thing. Maybe send some people some shirts and whatever, and give them some codes to give away stuff from my merch shop to their chat. 'Cause, I mean, it's not, is it as cool as the Hearthstone Creator Program? No, I know, but it's something. It's kind of fun. So, that was my goal there, and so far it has been fun, and
Well,
in a way to also, just give back to the community, right?
yeah, you've turned it from a content creator program to a community creator program, and within your community, and that's fantastic. I actually wrote an article for Hype Horizon on the creator program with some suggestions, and I think that there's a way that they could include everybody, because a lot of us are small content creators that don't have the numbers or dabble in many things. Like I have this podcast, I stream. I've done some YouTube stuff, and I'm very, very small potatoes. I get that, but I was really, when they told us about this program earlier or about a year ago now, I was very excited about it because I thought that it could help me improve like my visibility or whatever. And when they announced the numbers that were pretty much double what it takes to be a Twitch partner, it seemed kind of a big letdown. So I think that they could actually handle it in a way that includes everybody and includes and meets their goals. If they just have a tiered program, where if you're in this first tier, you've been making content say for like 6 months, you get in, you don't get codes. Maybe you have a chance at codes. Maybe there's raffles or something like that, but you don't get codes. Maybe you have like some seminars or something, like virtual seminars with some of the bigger content creators once in a while. Maybe you get a little bit of news, but for the most part, just a networking thing that we all support each other, and it's officially done by Blizzard. Like, you can do stuff like that, and maybe even have in order to improve the content that people create, have a contest. If you are on this tier level 1 of content creation, call it like freshman or whatever, have a contest to see who can do a card reveal. Give them a card that's already been done before. Give us like, say, hey, Baron Riverdare, do a card reveal for that. And then the winner of that contest from this big group of whatever could have an actual card reveal. So instead of having everybody getting something, everybody works on their skills. There's some rewards for somebody, and there. And then you could have different tiers based on that, and I think that would accomplish both what the community is looking for, and also what they are doing is basically acknowledging a program that already exists. So I have a lot of faith in Alkali Lake and the community, Team 5 in general. So I think over time we will see some improvements to this, and maybe things that'll help out the little guy. But who knows? The great thing has been listening to like shows like Blizzlet and Squelch, where they're like, they don't necessarily talk about Hearthstone all the time, trying to get themselves over that 70% threshold. It's been pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, I'm interested to see how it develops and evolves, because I mean, that's the one thing with anything like this is you take feedback. If you want something to be successful, you got to take the feedback, you got to adapt it and make it work to accomplish your goals. And I'm sure that they'll do their best to do that.
And that's a two-way. It's a two-way street, right? Like you want to give your feedback, but you can do so in a way that's respectful and a way that's constructive. Like yelling
Absolutely.
at the devs that this is stupid, not going to help. Never helps. Never helpful. But hey, I think like I said, I wrote an article. There's been a lot of feedback. There's the Angry Chicken had a great interview with her where they asked a lot of good questions, and she was very transparent. So give that feedback if you have thoughts, but just do it in a way that, remember that these are people that work hard. They're trying to do their best, and they will listen to you as long as you treat them like a human being.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, two-way street is the best way to put it.
But anyway, so charity stream, Panda Suit, Pocky Creator Program, lots going on. What else has been going on with you inside and outside Hearthstone?
Not too much in the last 2 weeks. Things have been pretty good. It's finally maybe sort of hopefully starting to warm up. I'm in Minnesota, so it's like at this point it's pretty much hunker down for winter, and then you just wait it out, right? You go into hibernation. So I'm in a hibernation phase right now, just waiting for it to get warm out, waiting I can go outside. But there's been some fun stuff. I went to go see some sled dog races this weekend. That was one of the incentives I had in my charity stream. If we raised $300, I'd go down there. So I went down there. We did a quick little stream of watching some sled dog races and stuff, and that was really fun. And Hearthstone wise, it's been pretty good. We had a couple bad days of Battlegrounds, but the past day or two's been decent climbing. Not anything crazy, but we're getting up towards 10K now, so excited to continue that climb.
Nice.
And if it gets too cold for you, you can always put the panda suit back on. That'll keep you warm.
Oh my goodness, you have no idea. I'll do like a 2.5 minute dance in it, and I'm just sweating. It's so hot. People. I don't think like people can understand. They're like, oh my god, I'm not like peak physical condition, but like I can move around. But like you do it in the suit, and you're like, I'm dead tired after like a short little dance, and people are like, you really? I'm like, it's hot. It is hot. It's like a sauna. It's just because all the fur just keeps all the heat in. There's that head. Yeah.
And some
but
people.
No, you are right. You are right. If I'm ever too cold, put that thing on. Fixed.
And there's some people that wear those things for like 2 or 3 days at a
I
convention.
don't know how. Like mascots. I remember a long time ago I was at my younger sister's volleyball tournament, and they actually sent out a thing asking if anyone wanted to be like the event mascot, and you didn't have to do any no like flips or just walking around in the outfit, and it was only going to be like I don't know $100 for the day or something, and I'm just like no way, like 8 hours of just walking around in a heat trap, like that I don't think I can do that.
Especially one that someone probably has already used before, and it probably doesn't smell all that good.
Yeah.
I was Alf once in a parade many years ago, so I remember. But how about you, Doc? What's been up in your life in and out of Hearthstone?
So in my life, today work was kind of crazy. I had to count by hand almost $40,000 in cash. It was an experience. It took like 30 minutes, and I didn't realize money could make
only
my hands.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
And
That's impressive.
There was like $30,000 in hundreds, so like that didn't take too terribly long. But cash made my hands so dry. It was awful. But World of Warcraft, because I've been playing that a lot. I did LFR. And I didn't realize I was winning rolls for gear as we did it, because I cleared the entire raid in LFR. We just kept re-queuing for the next section. And after the raid was done, and we got Razageth in 2 kills, or in 2 pulls, I got 3 out of my 4 set pieces from LFR. And then I had the quest just lined up to get my 4 set piece. So I cleared the raid in LFR and got my 4 set piece bonus in a single day.
Nice.
Which... that was just insane. In Hearthstone, I haven't touched standard yet, but I have been playing a lot of BGs. I'm not nearly at your level, Pocky, but I'm almost 4,500. I am excited that undead are not in every single game anymore, because I feel like that helps the games not feel very samey. Because when undead were guaranteed every time, it just felt very predictable to me.
For sure.
But yeah, like that's like everything going on with me. Tito, how about yourself?
Yeah, similar to Pocky. Excuse me. We just got through the cold. We had a cold snap over the weekend where I had to worry about the chickens. I had to put a new tarp on our chicken coop, which was not fun in like 0 degree temperature and 40-mile-an-hour winds, but we got it done. Nothing really exciting going on outside of that. Inside of Hearthstone, I did the brawl. I went 6-3. I wanted to get the skin. One run was enough. That felt, $10 or 1,000 gold or whatever it is for. I got most of that back and the skin, so I was happy. I've started climbing. I'm at about D5 now. Hit the rank floor a couple times. I get up to about 4 or 3 and then go back down. So I'm trying to find the deck that I want to climb with. I'll figure that out in the next couple days and then I'll stick with it. Blizzard, we had a game night that was always fun. We did that on Saturday, and the T-shirt game and all the Jackbox games. I love those. Good times. We also have a new. I can't give specifics yet, but we have a potential new grudge match set up in the next couple months. So I'm very excited about that. Round 2. It's going to be even bigger, even better. And I think a lot of people are going to be excited for this one. So if it all comes together, we will announce it when we have the pieces together. And like I said before, I did an article on Hype Horizon website about the content creator program. So if you can, go ahead and give that a read. So I've tweeted it out. So I'd love some feedback. I mean, it was just my thoughts. There's no... just my opinion, but hopefully I think a lot of people do kind of agree with general sentiment of it. So, yeah. But I think I'm starting to get a little hungry. What about you, Doc?
Yeah, I'm feeling a bit peckish, too.
All right. So Battlegrounds have been out for, the new season for 3 weeks now? Maybe a little longer? So, Pocky, what do we think of the undead and the new meta?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously at the start, like you kind of alluded to earlier, they came out and they were very strong. Definitely the dominant minion type in the game. But now after a couple patches, a couple tweaks, and like you said, sort of making them not in the game all the time, they feel like they're in a pretty good spot. Definitely some room for improvement. Both, some things that could maybe be a little bit stronger, some things that could be a little bit weaker. And then, obviously the rest of the game hasn't been touched in a while. You got to find that balance for the undead stuff. But then, you do want to kind of balance some of the other things too. And we did see some shifts and, Magma Lock going up a tier, Master of Realities coming down, and some adjustments like that. But I think we're getting to a pretty good spot. It just sort of takes some time to look at the data, look at, how everything's performing. And I honestly, like, there's things I would change. Definitely like heroes, but it's at least at a spot where, you're not like, there's not like something that's like really glaring, right? And that's like the big thing that you look out for, especially early on in patches, is like, whoa, this is, out of control. This is like, every game is just this. And we've had that a few times in Battlegrounds. And we did have it, right? With the initial Undead release. But things have definitely settled down. So I'm very curious to see how they go.
How do you feel about the power of the Undead compared to like other Tribes releases we've had?
So on pre-release, I do, patch reviews before every major patch, and on the surface, in theory, I was like, this has the potential to be just the most broken stuff that we've ever seen released. And to my credit, obviously I nailed on it on being very strong, but it was not the strongest that we've ever seen on release. That honor still remains held by Naga, I think. Naga were unbelievably dominant in a way that Undead didn't quite get there. When Naga came out, they won every game. Like, you did not win with anything else. it was who hit Naga fastest best. That's who won. Whereas even with Undead, you could sometimes win with Leapers. There was some mech comps. Sometimes you could outstat with Pirates or Naga. There was some other stuff going on. Magmalock was pretty good. Some other stuff that, while newly released, was still very strong. So we didn't see Undead, be completely tier 0, but super, super strong. And I mean, in terms of my feelings, I guess the devs have said that their approach is to start things out strong so that people want to play it, they're excited, and then tune it down from there. And I guess not that it matters, but philosophically, it's probably not what I would do. I think you're releasing things in a strong state, but maybe a little bit more balanced, would be a little bit healthier for the player base, right? Where a lot of people come back in for new patches and stuff, and you don't want to scare them away and be like, oh, well, game is just unbalanced like always. It's like a little bit better balance, I think, would have been good. But they were pretty quick to fix the majority of issues, like I said. So, we're just 3 weeks in and not in the worst spot. So,
well, I think that the devs on the standard side tried to do that with Death Knights, and I think that kind of ended up being to their detriment. Is they came in a little more balanced, maybe a little undertuned, and the excitement really wasn't there off the bat because they just weren't the class that was taking over, kind of like Demon Hunter did. So I think that the approach of coming in stronger and being a little more excited and broken and interesting, as long as they tune moderately quickly, I think that's probably the approach we're going to see more often because they've tried it the other way and it hasn't worked out as well as they would have liked.
Yeah, it's definitely a careful balance there that you have to strike. Maintaining that excitement with continued enjoyability out of the game.
So what do you think? Do we miss quests?
I personally do. Now, I mean, I'm always of the opinion that it's like, it's not just about me. There's a lot of people that play this game, so, set my feelings aside every once in a while. But I really liked how quests were able to sort of pseudo balance out the heroes a little bit, and it feels like right now we have a big disparity in hero balance, with I kind of wish wasn't as prominent as it is right now. But they did say the quests are coming back, so I can kind of understand it. In as we figure out, both the devs and us as players, figure out all the new mechanics, because it's not just undead, right? Dual type minions also were just released, and a huge change to how the game is sort of more of a fundamental change, right, to the core of Battlegrounds. And so it'll take some time for them to figure out how that impacts everything and how it all plays together. And hopefully after that we get some of the events back. I know buddies weren't perfect, but they were another way that it sort of equalized hero balance and at least switched it up. And quests obviously were my favorite of the events, and we've seen Dark Moon Fair prizes come back a couple times now. So it'll be curious to see how long they make us wait before we go away from vanilla Battlegrounds again. But I do miss them, but I understand that they probably needed a little bit of a rest, and some people appreciate that rest too. So,
well, I like the fact, like
sure.
what you were saying. I think once you have a meta without something like that, it can be kind of samey. Like the comps become very similar, and the way you play a hero becomes similar. But with the quests, you were given different options, and your play would key off of that. So the games always felt kind of different depending on what hero plus quest combination you got. Like you got Sinstone with Daryl, for example. You could have a really, pop off game and have a lot of fun, and it'd be different than if you had the lamps or whatever. So I thought it brought a lot of different tangents the games could take. How about you, Doc? Do you miss quests?
Yeah, I do. Just because it added an extra layer to the game, and you got to maybe build like not necessarily suboptimal, but like do something funky and make it work because your quest made it stronger than what it should be. And it just kind of forced you into a direction. Because sometimes when I play BGs, like I don't realize like the patterns I'm seeing in my shop for a specific comp. And so I just feel like I'm wandering aimlessly in Bob's Tavern, just trying to find something to get to the next shop to hopefully give myself a direction to go. And I think quests were a good supplement of, okay, well, you need to summon X many minions. You either go Reborn or you go Death Rattles. Like just a good like starting point, and then try to find an end game that you could build off of there. I think quests are fun. I also kind of like vanilla BGs in the sense that it makes you have to play for your board more. Just because like you don't have the power level of the quests to fall back on. So like you have to try to get like the most powerful board you can so that you can survive and hopefully win the game. And I feel like for me personally, not being a great BG player, I used quests as kind of like a crutch. So like having to force myself to recognize like different minions are stronger stat wise versus like effects or vice versa. And like trying to do that. It's been helpful, but I definitely miss the fun randomness that quests can generate. And I never once got the Golden Buddy quest, and I'm really upset about it.
I didn't either.
Yeah, it was a tough one to get, so nothing to feel bad about there. I have a conspiracy theory that they increase the odds like right at the end of like the last like 2 days of the season. I feel like they increased the odds, but it was still hard, and they never said anything, so I don't know for sure.
Maybe. You never know.
Yeah, we'll never know. It'll have to remain a mystery.
All right. Excuse me. So, Pocky, how do you win as undead? What's the game plan here?
Yeah, there's a few. So, sort of every minion type, there's always a couple options. So, if we think onto some other tribes, you have things like Eliza and Hogger sort of being these basis of pirates, right? Like you can either play attack pirates or APM pirates. And then dragons, you have stuff like shields with Nadina and Cyborg Drake and these, shield focused oriented minion types and the passive scaling with like Terragosa and Promo Drake. And then you have stuff like Caligos, right? That it's just cycling battle cries and growing your board that way. So every minion type generally has like 1, 2, or 2 to 3 sort of ways to play it. And with undead, there are a couple ways as well. One of them is what's probably a crowd favorite is Eternal Night, right? The Eternal Night strategy with Eternal Summoner that repeatedly summons your Eternal Knights, and you get scaling through those knights dying any given turn. And if you are able to summon multiple, reborn them, or get more of them off of Eternal Summoners, they can actually be pretty relevant units that you use to just consistently refill your board with high statted units, right? Normally you're used to minions coming out and they're, summons are generally smaller things, but they can be pretty sizable if you play the Eternal Night strategy. Likewise, you also have the sort of a Nubarak strategy where you're using the Nerubian Deathswarmer and a Nubarak to increase the attack of your summons. And there's a lot of reborns, obviously undead. The minion type is sort of built around that mechanic with those summons. And if you get the attack high enough, those reborns start to be very relevant. They kind of play out like Volatile Venom, the quest, as we sort of think about, missing quests. Volatile Venom was the strongest quest in the game by a wide margin. It wasn't picked a ton, but it had over a half placement, which is a really, really big. Like I'm it's hard for some people to know how the numbers really sort of contextualize within the game, but it's a huge difference. It was by far the best quest, and playing the attack style undead with, high attack summons basically means you can almost play a volatile venom board with undead, right? You don't necessarily care about the health on the minions because when they attack, they're dying, and you just have so many summons that the attack sort of overwhelms your opponent. And so that's the second strategy. And then the other strategy is utilizing Sister Death Whisper to sort of get passive scaling out of those reborns and buff things up like Banshee and Colossus of the Sun, and just make a very strong passively scaling board with Sister Death Whisper.
I think we know why.
All three very viable and really good.
I think we know why they took out Khadgar now.
Yeah, for sure. It probably would have been a bit too strong with all the undead synergies.
So, what do you think the best tribes out there besides undead? What are the best tribes in this meta now currently? Like, what should people go for?
Elementals to me are definitely a standout. They feel very good. Recycling rate just quite strong. And then pairing that with Megaloloch and Master of Realities. There's still options for Nomi and the like, but Magmalock has really been a shining star so far. Dragons, in a way, kind of have made a nice return to the spotlight. But I feel like it's mostly through Chronormu, where a lot of times, players struggle to transition out of their early game where they pick up a lot of stats on these boards, but there's nowhere to go with it, right? You might have a Tavern Tipper or a Wrathweaver that you have stats, but you're like, where does this go, right? What does this end up being? And in Chronormu, it gave you a way to sort of sell those stats all onto a single unit, make it a quite large unit. And because it's a dragon, obviously you can benefit from something like Amber Guardian or Nadina to give that dragon a shield. And that allows you to play into the late game where you can sort of play a high statted Divine Shield unit and then run stuff like Manted Queen and Leroy to supplement it, for that sort of ideal late game comp. So we've seen that do really well. And then the last thing, this is kind of a cheat answer, but in terms of what are the best tribes, Theatar in Menagerie, very good right now. There's a couple things that really synergize for Menagerie. Ghoul of the Feast is obviously a very strong card. Not even maybe. It is the strongest 3-drop right now. And Theatar is potentially the strongest 6-drop. And so sort of using those two in tandem to build up a Menagerie board and get quite strong in the mid game, level up to 6, find those Theatars, and scale into the late game has been really, really good in my opinion.
So what are some tribes we should stay away from at the moment?
It's hard because every game is different, and certainly everything is potentially viable in the right situations. Sometimes Bob just says, "Hey, this game you're playing Murlocs. I don't care if you want to or don't want to. I'm gonna give you all the Murlocs, and you're either gonna take them or you're not. But like you're playing Murlocs." But I think the one set that worries me a little bit is Quillbore. I haven't seen them have as much success, mainly on account of Charlie and Darkgaze not quite being good enough in terms of scaling most of the time in comparison, relative to some of the other stuff. Naga still have great outs. Pirates still have great outs. Dragon's scaling is a little lackluster, but like we said, Chronormu sort of filled a really cool spot in the design of the game. So everything else feels pretty strong, but Quillbore scaling just seems like it's a little bit weaker than everything else right now.
Pardon me again. What about some tech cards? What are some of the best tech cards to have out there? Like, what should people be kind of looking to factor into their builds?
Well, speaking of tech, I would say that one of the most prominent ones right now is Cinderace Straight Shot. The Archer, Divine Shield, Wind Fury, takes off Reborn and Taunt. Has been playing really well against Undead, but also is very relevant against a lot of other comps. You can take Taunt off a lot of different units, and it can even be very good against players that Taunt things that need to die in Death Rattle comps. So something like Leapers or Nadina or even a Tunnel Blaster, if you pair Cinderace Straight Shot with a very small Taunt to prevent that unit's Death Rattle from going off early, can really mess up another player. And then I guess it's less of a tech, but one card that I've really been liking recently, that's sort of a neutral, kind of goes with anything, is Elise. Because I don't know if you've experienced it, but they added a lot of minions to the game, right? There's new dual tribe minions, there's all the new undead, there's some new 1-drops and new minions for some other minion types, and while there's a lot of good stuff, that also means that there's a lot of bad stuff. And because, there's this disparity in how good minions in your shops might be, a lot of players are resorting to rolling a lot more. Normally rolling is very bad, but if you have to roll, you have to roll. And what Elise does is it allows you to start finding discovers and getting effective triples out of that rolling, so that you can, look for 5 or 6 drops that can give you that direction that you might be looking for if you don't already have it. And so that's why I've found Elise to cover a nice little niche there.
So that's a problem that I definitely have. Is I'll be on a comp, and I'll be on dragons, and I will just roll until I find dragons at some point, unless I see like a taunt guy or something like that to taunt things up or something like that. But that's probably a pretty common mistake people make from what you're saying, is we should be buying more minions and trying to triple them, or spend more money on buying actual minions instead of rolling a lot of times. Or
I mean, generally that is a good case, but if you don't have direction, as you move into the late game, you do need to find that direction, right? You need to find something, and it doesn't necessarily need to be scaling, but it needs to be something that'll say, hey, this is how you're going to play the game, right? So something like a Fell Stomper, if you're playing a lot of summons, something like Cyborg Drake, if you're playing shields. There's a lot of different options, and you can even play it if, say, you do have a dragon board or a demon board, right? But you don't have that Fellbat or Caligos yet. You can use that Elise to try and use those discovers to find those units if you're not able to level to 6 to find them right away, or even something like Theatar. The main thing is just, if you don't have that direction yet and you feel the need to roll for it, Elise can sort of make up a little bit of that difference and make normally what is not ideal a little bit more feasible. Whereas, if you're just rolling for nothing and you hit nothing, I'm sure you've been there, the old -10 kick W, like, what did you do this turn? And it's like, nothing. At least can help you dodge that situation a little bit, which is why I like it a lot right now.
What are some trap cards out there? Like, I know you were talking about like Tavern Tipper. It's tough to transition out of a Tavern Tipper if like you've put the time in and it's gotten bigger. Are there trap cards out there that you see people, I know probably not at your level where you're playing at 10K, but like that people just kind of like put too much stock in, don't get out of early enough? What are some traps people run into?
For sure. I think some of the undead are occasionally a little bit overrated. A lot of things are just situational right now, and so people sometimes confuse that for, well, something not situational, I guess. Where they're just like, no, this is a good card, and it's like, yeah, it might, be a good card, but that doesn't mean it's always good, right? It might not be the right situation for it.
So, like on that note, I have a hard time getting out of Jelly Belly. Is that a trap? Am I failing there by staying on that too long?
Probably in the sense that, like you said, too long is the key word there, right? Or the key phrase. Jelly Belly can be a great card, right? It provides a lot of tempo early, but because it's not permanent stats, it's not scaling, it's eventually going to fall off. So you need to really sort of work on determining when is the right time to sort of cut this card and try and find something better. And, to your credit and everyone else who's ever struggled with something like that, it's really difficult. It's a very difficult concept to, sometimes, Tavern Tipper is another great example, like you said, where it can be a great card. It can help you level up safely and provide a lot of tempo, but then it feels like it's stuck on your board. And so the trap isn't taking Tavern Tipper necessarily in the first place, but rather not knowing when to say, all right, this is a lot of stats, but in the long run, I need to move out of this card on my board, so maybe this is the turn I sell it. And it's a very difficult thing to balance because sometimes you're selling a 20, attack 30 health unit. Jelly Belly, it's like, wow, my board is all undead. I just have these weak summons. If I don't have Jelly Belly, like, am I really going to be okay? And it's sometimes hard to answer.
It's my emotionally support undead.
Yeah, exactly. But otherwise, I mean, there are probably, like I said, some traps, but usually like a lot of players like a Nubrak or Theotar, but the situation oftentimes is sort of like a too little too late scenario where you're like, no, it's not time for that right now, there's only 2 turns left. Like we don't have time for that, or we're not strong enough for that. You kind of have to look at the bigger picture sometimes, and not necessarily, prescribe too much value to a specific card. Sometimes players look at something like Ghoul of the Feast, which is a very strong card, right? Like I said, it's I think unquestionably the strongest 3-drop. But if you don't have an Avenge board, or you only have one minion type on board, so you're only getting a little bit of attack out of it, it probably isn't the best 3-drop, right? There's probably another 3-drop out there that it's going to fit your board a little bit better. Or 4-drop, maybe it's just not taking it and rather leveling, So I think the most dangerous traps in the game are definitely the ones that can really, they're good in some spots, but that doesn't mean that they're always good. And that can be difficult for people to keep in mind at times.
Do you think people, and I think I'm one of these people, do you think people sometimes try to go for a home run board to try to get that first place, and instead of going for like a top 4 board?
Yeah, for sure. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? I stress this very often in my stream that it depends what you're playing for. If your goal is to climb, you can just play a very conservative, standard, safe style, playing for those top 4s, like you said. But if it's more fun for you to go for first, go for it. But also realize, don't go complaining to your favorite streamer like, oh, I can never win these games. Like, it's all luck, like you got to recognize that it's a decision, and it might not necessarily translate to the best MMR gain. But it's however you want to enjoy the game. But there are definitely games where a first is probably not viable, and top players will recognize that and say, okay, we're playing for second. This other person's, already got too much. We're not going to overcome them. So we're going to sort of adjust our playstyle to adapt into that situation.
Yeah, I think scouting is something a lot of people don't do either, but that's probably a much bigger topic. But like, look at what the other people are doing and evaluate like what board did they have, what did they have last time, what is it saying about them, and you find out did they spike, did they power level. Paying attention to that stuff and then making decisions accordingly is kind of like the 200 level class on Battlegrounds, I think.
And that's
For
something
sure.
that's like very different between TFT and Battlegrounds. In TFT, you're able to go to everyone else's board and see what they're doing in real time. In Battlegrounds, if you're not playing with Deck Tracker, it's all what you can remember that they had. At least in Deck
Hmm.
Tracker, it'll show you like the last time you played them and what they had, but that could have been like 7 turns ago. So that's definitely like a big like memory skill that you have to develop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and when I started playing, I played on mobile. I was one of the phone gamers. Um, and so unfortunately, we didn't have Deck Tracker, and it definitely helped me at the time to not necessarily remember exactly what everyone had, but it does help you like sort of build a habit of like remembering. Oh yeah, they were playing elementals, and it might be 7 turns ago, but if you check and it still says elementals for you, you can be like, well, they probably would have kept this, but that unit probably is long gone, right? They probably don't have a elemental on board anymore. Now it might be a magma lock or a lil rag or something, a cyclone that we're looking out for, and you can sort of play around things that way, and you can recognize like, oh, there's 4 players going elementals. Maybe I shouldn't also go for elementals because those are a little bit contested. So there's still ways to sort of play without the scouting, but it definitely makes for a different game, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. But yeah, for sure, it's something that you have to sort of be cognizant of, like you mentioned, in either through memory or just like a general feel and experience with the game, right? That you gain over time
And that's actually something we didn't
to know
mention
what
last
people are doing.
week was that there's a limited pool of minions. There's only like so many undead. There's only so many elementals. There's only so many on each tier, and these numbers
Hmm.
are known. So if like Pocky said, if you see 4 people have gone undead, maybe go something else because they'll be more plentiful and you're less likely to get those undead. So that's a good idea. That's a good time to pivot if you were trying to go that same route as other people. Um, are there comps that people are still trying to force from like older metas, the last meta that just don't work anymore, or is that
No, I don't really think so. Um, like I said, maybe there's some players that are playing undead a little bit too often. Just because again, they are still new, and some players just want to try it out. We're still in sort of a for some people what would be a honeymoon phase where they just want to try the new minion type. But there's a pretty good variety right now. Like I said, Pool Board's the one that I probably look at and say like, yeah, that one's not too good. And if someone's trying to play into that, they might not have the best time. At least if they're trying to win, playing gems is always fun, always fun. Moving them around, making a giant cleave, that never gets old. But otherwise, I think there is a pretty healthy variety. Um, and the only thing is that if you end up in a lobby where, occasionally you can have a situation where naturally people will sort of just end up playing the same comp, right? Maybe there's a test and a scabs and a reform, and so everyone's sort of feeding off the same boards, right? And all of a sudden you have 4 people playing mechs. You can keep that in mind too and be like, oh, well, I'm going to play Beast or I'm going to play Undead or I'm just going to like keep Tunnel Blaster for maybe longer than a turn just because there's so many people like playing this one comp in this specific game and recognizing that kind of unlike TFT, right? If we're using that as a comparison, there are counters, right? Poison can counter big stats, and Murlocs, if they don't have big stats, are often countered by shields and summons, and the stats can outstat some of the summons, and if your Naga are too big, your undead are just never gonna get there sometimes. So Being aware of that and playing into counters if you recognize like, hey, maybe there's a little bit too much weight on this. Too many people are going for this. I'm gonna punish them for all playing the same thing because I only need to run one counter. Then I don't need to counter 5 different comps. I can just counter mechs or counter murlocs.
Nice. All right. So to wrap this up, what's your current favorite comp or tribe, and what's your least favorite? Like, what's the comp that you're like, oh, I don't want to go this or whatever, but that's what Bob's giving you.
Ooh, that's a good one. I personally, so obviously I already said Core, so I won't say that again. But Naga have honestly been a little bit of a struggle for me, even though I think they're quite good. Like when you hit, especially with Greta, able to make like a golden Athissa, you can really scale things to a really good spot. Pashmar can give you a lot of spellcraft if you're on tier 5 or 6 that are, sort of premium with divine shields, and even sometimes getting Orguzoa Discover or that Greta Gold Gun. I just haven't been able to consistently make it work to the point where it's a comp that I'm really playing into. Yeah, and that's not for lack of trying. I will add that. I have certainly tried to make it work because I'm like, a bunch of golden Naga, that sounds pretty good to me, free spellcraft it sounds good. And then what do you know? I'm dead. And I'm like, what just happened? What just happened? But yeah, I shy away from it a little bit, probably more than I should. Like I said, I can recognize that it's good and just not have success with it. But otherwise, I've really been liking playing very flexible. Yeah, that's a little bit of a cop-out answer, but there are a lot of cool things that you can do without scaling. And trust me, I love scaling. I think playing it like Theotar is super, super fun right now, super strong. If you can buff premium units, it's really good. But there are other comps that, Fell Stomper, for example, where you can just play summons. There's so many different minion types that have summons, whether it's undead or mechs or demons or beasts, and you can really make things work, right? And sometimes it's very simple. Sometimes you have an Eternal Summoner and a Reborn Coiler and like a Reborn Taunt, or something very basic. But you have a couple Fell Stompers and you just make it work. Another example is Cyborg Drake. You can play mechs with mech rolls and deflectos and these resets and have very, very little scaling. But if you utilize that Cyborg Drake right and balance how you use shield resets from, whether it's a Death Rattle mech for your deflectos or sometimes even like a Selfless or a Glow Scale or, there's these really cool ways to play around things that come up when you can't hit anything else. And then those are the situations that oftentimes you do end up playing matchup to matchup. And I enjoy that gameplay because it is kind of fun. It turns the game into a little bit of a gratifying puzzle, right? Where each turn it's a new puzzle and you have to figure out how to tackle it, right? How am I going to take my board that has no scaling and beat summons? How am I going to play to beat stats, right? Maybe I have to tech in a Mantid early, right, for this fight, but the next fight I need to use a Cinderace straight shot or just run extra summons or really roll down and try and find that second Fell Stomper. Like, what is it that I exactly need here and now that's going to give me the best chance to win this fight? And then, so on for every subsequent fight. And then oftentimes what looked like just trying to play for that top 4 can turn into a second or even a first if you play it right. And so I've really been enjoying the ability to play very flexibly. Like I said, using that Elite when I don't have any direction, and we'll just, we'll see what comes up. We'll see where we can find direction and then lean into that. I've really been enjoying playing that flexible, fluid style.
I think we can name that the MacGyver build.
Yeah. Just make it work. Just make it work.
How about Doc? Do you have any other questions for Pocky before we wrap up the segment?
Not that I can think of that would be like good questions.
I answer bad ones too. I do it all the time on my stream. Don't tell my chat, but
Okay, so behind you, to what I assume is the right of your TV, is that a Killua poster from Hunter x Hunter?
It is. It was actually. It's a print. It's an acrylic print made by another streamer, Pseudo, who does these really cool, like anime paintings. And I met her at TwitchCon, at the Artist Alley, and I saw the prints, and I'm like, those are really cool. And I'm like, the Killua one, right? Like Killua is a cool character, like probably my favorite Hunter x Hunter character. And I'm like, I need it. And it was sold out. And I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? But she had some more sold online, and I'm like, okay, I gotta have it. It's too cool. And my friend, actually, I had my friend make the frame for it to do the sort of backlighting on it, and it ended up working out really, really cool, because
Yeah, it looks
you know
awesome.
it kind of brings out that, like, the electricity and the so really, really happy with how it turns out. But shout out to her, she does amazing work. She does the paintings on stream, a lot of like anime focused stuff, but also gaming stuff. So really, really cool. You can tell her I sent you there.
Okay.
Doc will find her, I bet. All right. I think I'm getting kind of full, but there's a little room for dessert. What do you think there, Doc?
Yeah, dessert's always good. Pocky, where can people find you?
Oh man, everywhere. The big ones: Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube for sure. Always happy to have people in my stream asking, like I said, good questions, bad questions, any questions. Maybe consider before you ask me to put on the panda suit and dance. It's hot in there. Like I said, it's hot in there. But Pocky Plays on Twitch. On Twitter, I am at Pocky_plays. I try and post all the updates to battlegrounds that I know of, fun questions, thoughts, whatever it may be. I think I just recently tweeted out. There's a couple interesting tweets. I don't know if you guys saw, but Overwatch is having their first non-Blizzard universe collaboration for One Punch Man, which is really cool. And I was like, whoa, that's like, and like, the big thing is just like, Blizzard isn't known for doing out of Blizzard universe collaborations. I don't even know if there has really been one before. And I'm like, that is new and different. And I love Fortnite, and Fortnite does it all the time. They have collaborations with real life celebrities, influencers, artists, athletes, you name it. Anime, TV shows, The Witcher, movies, Star Wars, Disney, Marvel, all of it. They have all of it, and I'm always jealous. I'm like, why can't we have that, in Blizzard stuff? And so that's the first foray. And so, I don't know. Do you guys like? Imagine like Lord of the Rings in Hearthstone or something.
I'm excited. So there was, it's people have talked about it, so I don't feel like I can't talk about this. There was a survey that went out a few months ago where they asked specifically, would you like Hearthstone to cross promote stuff? And it was like other games, anime, like clothing brands, stuff like that. And that's the one survey I've ever gotten from them. But like I threw in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, because it's one of my favorite anime. It's just crazy stuff happening. But yeah, no, I think it would be cool. Like at the very least, like cosmetics. Like do like I forget what Magic calls them, like Secret Wars or something, where they just have like basically just a cosmetic set that comes out for something. I would love cross promotional like portrait art for all that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I have the show notes pulled up. Yeah,
I would probably be a sucker
and
for
ready
it.
to go.
And they barely ever do cross universe within their own environment, unless it's Diablo
True.
coming in
Okay.
somewhere else.
So 3,
they
2,
don't
1,
cross
clap.
over.
3, 2, 1, clap.
Yeah, no, exactly.
3, 2, 1.
I know StarCraft had a
3,
little bit
2, 1.
of play, right? Where
Welcome to
you
Bread
have
and Butter,
some stuff
everybody.
in-
This
in
is episode
Overwatch actually has
14.
been the
And
best,
again,
where
we
you
have
know, they'll
Pocky
have
as our special
cosmetics, and it's
guest.
like,
Pocky,
this
how are you
is
doing today?
A StarCraft cosmetic. This is a Warcraft cosmetic. You know, within the Overwatch universe.
I am doing.
but-
I'm doing okay. Work
And they had
was,
Heroes of
work
the
was a
Storm.
lot
It's
today.
an
Tito, how are you
interesting.
doing?
Yeah, Here's the Storm. Obviously, the ultimate crossover event in terms of Blizzard.
Now, when they had Heroes of the Storm before, it used to be called Blizzard All Stars, and I didn't really know much about the MOBA world at that point, and I didn't realize it was a MOBA. I thought what they were announcing was like a Smash Brothers, but of Blizzard, and I thought that would have been badass. Is like if you could be like,
I mean, I think it would be badass. It'd be very fun.
but anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'd like to see like Thrall versus Diablo, and you know, you could be Deckard Cain or whoever. But Doc, where can people find you? And you can find me on Twitter and Twitch at Tito Santana HS. Pocky, anybody you like to shout out this week?
You guys are having me on again. Thank you for the opportunity. I always love talking about this stuff. So huge shout out to you guys. Again, huge shout out to my community for the support of my charity stream this weekend, and just a lot of fun with that. So it means a lot to me that I can take something that is fun for me and also have it be for a good cause. So it means a lot, and so huge shout out to my community as well.
How about yourself, Doc?
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, huge shout out for having me on. We wouldn't, neither of us would get the opportunity without you guys putting it together. So
Yeah, and hopefully maybe next time we get another Battlegrounds patch, we'll have to bring you on to give us a recap. I'd like to thank Just a Guy this week. We've thanked him before, but we did the event with Wicked Good versus Sidisi and had some technical issues, and he's put together kind of a recap of the thing that has minimized the impact of the recap of the technical issues. So I'm very he took chicken poop and made chicken salad, so I really appreciate that. But anyway, I think that's it, guys. I think we're toast.